Hi guys, welcome to this video. This is Prashant from Word Pandit and I'll be analyzing this article for you today. This is an article analysis video. In this video we do something very simple. We pick up an article and analyze it, what the author is trying to say, communicate through that article. Today we've got a really interesting article by one of my favorite authors, Jug Suriaya, right? He writes for the Times of India, was an associate editor as well. As you can see, he has got two regular columns in the Times of India, Jugular Vein on Friday and Second Opinion, which appears on Wednesdays. The basic common theme across his articles is these are witty, humorous, sarcastic pieces which are super interesting to read, which are fun to read, and more than anything else, generally he gives a very non-serious take on life, right? So just he enjoys life on the lighter side, and at times there are sarcastic digs as well. Overall, he does a great job, and for someone who's starting reading, some of his articles might be difficult to understand, some are easy to understand as well. For example, this one, because this one has a lot of indirect references, so these are short articles, but because of these references it becomes a little difficult to understand his articles at times. And that is where there is a lot of value addition to your reading skills, because you get all these unknown references, you get to learn new things. So that's the awesome thing about his articles. So let's get started and let's try to understand what is being said here. I'll try to come up with very simple definitions for whatever is being said in layman terms. How can we simplify these lines? First I'll go through the article and then I'll explain overall the purpose of writing this article and why was it written in the way it was, right? Now the article, it has an indirect title which says the earth abounds with heavenly treasures, getting starstruck by Sona Chandi. So this does not give you much of a clue what the article is about, right? All it tells is that the earth has a lot of heavenly treasures. What kind of treasures is he talking about? What kind of Sona Chandi? What kind of gold and silver? Now let's get started. In a variant of the biblical injunction is a formal command or order, right? So in a variant of biblical injunction, the first clue that should strike your mind instantly when you read this, that there is a reference to the Bible. There is a biblical reference here. There is a biblical order or command which is being talked about. So he's saying in a variation of the biblical injunction, right? So just a variation of the biblical order. What is the order? To render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God. So this is the biblical injunction. What does this mean? So this is taken from the New Testament, and what does this stand for? This stands for when a question was asked with respect to taxes, whether citizens are liable to pay taxes. Supposedly the answer is that what belongs to Caesar, so what is in the ownership of Caesar, the ruler, the king, who had the equivalent status of God, belongs to Caesar, and what belongs to God is his. So you're supposed to pay what you're supposed to pay to Caesar. So similarly he's saying, so in a variation of the biblical injunction to render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God. So basically what belongs to Caesar, what belongs to planet Earth, because Caesar's domain is what? Of planet Earth, is his, and what belongs to God, it belongs to God. He's saying in a variation of this, Caesar's domain of planet Earth has received much more from up above than pennies from heaven. So he's saying in this variation to what belongs to Caesar. So when we look at what is it that he has ownership over, now he extends what Caesar's domain to what? He extends it to planet Earth. So what belongs to planet Earth, right? It has been received what? Where has it been received from? It has been received from heaven, from up above, and this is just does not amount to pennies. Why doesn't it amount to pennies, and why does it amount to much more? We get the answer in this. Basically he wanted to convey to us this information that according to a study conducted by American and Canadian astrophysicists and published in the scientific journal Nature, precious metals such as gold and silver found on Earth are a gift of the stars, of the astronomical, not the Bollywood variety. So he's saying that these things that we have in the form of gold and silver, these reserves that we have, these precious metals that we have, where have we gotten them from? We've got them as a gift of the stars. So correlated with the first passage, they are from up above, they are from the heaven. That is where earth has received them from. These are not necessarily pennies that we've got from heaven. We've gotten them from where? We've gotten them from stars. Using supercomputers, the researchers stimulated the dynamics of what are called collapsers, ancient giant stars, so particular type of stars 30 times more massive than our sun, which imploded means burst inwards, under their own gravitational pressure to become supernova. So what are supernovas? Supernovas are types of stars which burst and then they give out a lot of luminous light, right? So these stars basically bursted, right? Now what happened in this process of bursting? These collapsing stellar bodies ejected vast quantities of heavy elements including gold, platinum, treasure troves of what came raining down on primordial Earth. So what did these collapsing stellar bodies, what these stars do? They gave us a lot of gold, platinum, they gave us a lot of these precious metals, right? When they exploded, that is what they did. What does primordial refer to here? Primordial refers to the beginning of time. So it's referring to ancient Earth in short, right? So that's the reference to primordial. Now, as one of the researchers associated with the study put it, the results of their experiment were astonishingly similar to what we observe in geological terms. So what is it that we observe in geological terms? What is he referring to? Remember, what is the science of geology all about? It is about exploring Earth, what is it composed of, right? Where did all that content that the Earth has, where did it come from? Here when he's talking about Earth, he's talking about precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, because that is the context. Now when you did geological research on them, we found that the results were similar, right? So according to this study and according to studies of geology, both of these had come to similar conclusions, that whatever these huge reserves of gold, silver, platinum that we have, these have come from heavenly bodies above. The notion that earthly riches are heaven sent by a benign cosmos which has provided humankind with all manner of goodies might buttress religious belief, right? So it might buttress religious belief. What does he mean by this particular line? Now, in order to identify the meaning of the line, the first thing that you need to do is you need to know the meaning of the word manna. You need to know the meaning of the word buttress. So buttress is nothing else but to reinforce, to provide support to something. So this basically means it supports religious belief. Now what is manna? So manna is another biblical reference. Basically this was food provided to the Israelis while they were going into the wilderness. Where did this food come from? This miraculously appeared. It was divine food. So when something appears in a sudden unexpected manner, that is referred to as manna. Generally you regard the source of this unexpected amount of bounties that you have received as divine in nature. So miraculous spiritual nourishment or miraculous spiritual food that you've gotten. Now he's saying that the notion that the earthly riches are heaven sent by a benign cosmos. So these have been sent by the heavens above. Earthly riches, the riches of the earth, the gold, the platinum, the resources the earth has, which has provided humankind with all manner of goodies. So which has provided humankind with all these nourishments, right? All this spiritual nourishment, all these goodies that we've got. This might buttress religious belief. So this supports religious belief that we've got our riches from the heavens above, right? So this might support that. But then he goes on to counter this. He says, however, a caveat. So a caveat is a warning, right? You've got to keep this in mind. Can be found in the cautionary tale of the pious do-gooder. So the religious do-gooder, the person who believes in doing good for others, right? In the cautionary tale of the pious do-gooder. So what is it that you have to find in his tale? What is it that we should take with caution? Who promised a heavenly boon. So what is a boon? What does the word boon mean? A boon refers to a desirable state, right? So It is the opposite of bane, right? Bane is a state of misery. Boon is a state of desirable state. It is a state where you have excesses, where you have riches, where you have happiness, where you have everything. So now what happened was the pious do-gooder promised a heavenly boon. So he was promised that you will be given a heavenly boon. You will get the perfect state, asked to be made a millionaire in an instant. So what is it that he asked? He said that I should be made a millionaire. An instant later, when nothing happened, he complained. Now only to be told his boon would be granted in 1,000,000 years, which in heaven's context is an instant. So he had that expectation that he's going to get those riches in an instant, but the fact of the matter is his wish was granted, but the only thing was in terms of heavenly terms, right? In the terms of heaven, an instant is what is millions of years. So in that elongated time frame of the heavens. Now why has he written something like this? What is the purpose of all these biblical references, all these things he has mentioned? There has to be some reason, right? Now if you look at it from a very, very factual perspective, he's done something very simple. This is just one piece of news. What is that piece of news? That a study was conducted by American and Canadian astrophysicists, and they found out that precious metals such as gold and silver found on Earth are the gift of stars, right? So that is what the factual content of this article is. That is all. Now in order to convey this statement to you, the author has taken up a very, very roundabout method, right? He's not gone in a linear manner, because if he had, all of this passage, all of this article would have been limited to these 2 paragraphs. That's it. Those are all the facts that are there. Everything else is personal commentary of the author, right? Now what does he want to convey? He wants to convey through, more importantly, through wit and humor, he wants to convey to you that what is it, how is it that we've gotten the riches of the earth, and you should not take them for granted, right? So don't assume that we've got the riches of the earth and we'll get them in another instant, we'll get some more riches. So we've got to wait millions of years for the riches that we've gotten, and maybe millions of years later we might get some more. But at the end of the day, he just wants to convey you through wit and humor, how did we arrive at the treasures that we've got right now? How did we arrive at this state? It was just a witty and humorous way of conveying this information to you. If you're going to search for some really, really deep purpose for this article, there isn't. It's just a way of communicating a mundane fact. This is a mundane scientific research fact. It's just a way of communicating this mundane fact to you, something through a very, very interesting story. As a reader, as someone who's trying to learn the language, this article is awesome for you, because you get all these references. You get the reference to Caesar, and you get the reference to the story of the pious do-gooder. You get all these different references. You get to learn words as well. Primordial, mana, these are words that you might not have heard previously. So you get to learn all these things from this single article, and that is why you should read it. And that is how this article is going to help you expand your language skills. And that is what the purpose should be. Plus it gives you a tinge of enjoyment as well, a hint of enjoyment as well while reading this. And that is the precise reason. If you can enjoy something while which you read, it just adds on to your knowledge, makes the experience that much more pleasurable. And this is also going to motivate you to read more of Jug Suriaya's articles, which you absolutely should. All you've got to do is you've got to search for this link, Jugal Bandi. That's the name of his blog on the Times of India website. You will get the complete archive of his articles, and you can enjoy his content, you can enjoy his articles. Brilliant writer, brilliant to read, a lot of useful information and a lot of fun as well. Hope you had a great time with this article analysis video, and hope you read many of his articles from this point onwards. Thank you very much for watching this video, and happy learning.